Hello, kiddos. How are you? Oh, kiddos. Now, that's an expression that my old scout leader used to use. Kiddos. He used to call everyone kiddos. He was a bit Scottish. And I think it might be a Scottish word there. Have we got any Scottish listeners or viewers? Does the word kiddo mean anything to you? Come on, kiddos, he used to call us. Hello to you, welcome along. It's Chris Reardon with today's United Kingdom talk, and I've only just dried myself out. Yes, there's been a little bit of an accident on the way home. Well, not really so much of an accident. It's all right, I haven't wet myself. Oh, for God's sake. You didn't think for one moment I'd wet myself, I hope. I mean, I have, at last, I'm glad to say, grown out of that. Took a little bit longer than the usual, teenage years. But I did eventually grow out. I mean, it's very, very rare it happens now. What a strange thing to start a show with, talking about wetting oneself. No, I got absolutely soaked on the way back from the swimming pool today. I got up around about 11 o'clock, about 10:30 I got up, had some breakfast. And there's always a lot to do today, including this show and some other bits and pieces that I do. So I cycled down to the bank. Now, I did know that it was raining, and we're not talking a little shower there. It was sort of already coming down reasonably heavy, but I've got the waterproofs that I bought a while ago. I've got a nice yellow cape, which you may or may not have seen before in one of the pictures on the main United Kingdom Talk website. I can't remember if it's months ago I put that one on. And it's like a yellow... Well, it's not a cape, really. It's more like... Because a cape goes right... It's like a cape is a cape, isn't it? No, it's more of a... like a plastic anorak, okay? And it's got a little yellow hood. It's actually downstairs. And I look a little bit like Little Yellow Riding Hood. Yeah, I do feel Hans Christian Andersen will shortly be writing a story about Little Yellow Riding Hood, going from the Mirable Studios down to the bank, then down to the supermarket, then up to the swimming pool, and then home. Right? So to be honest, it wasn't too bad cycling down to the bank. I put a little bit of money in the bank. And then, talking about money, I was listening to Ross Patzelt's podcast the other day. And he seems to be under the impression that I get £2,000 a night. You are having a laugh, aren't you, Ross? £2,000 a night. He said Chris Reardon's got much more money than me. He gets £2,000 a night for his DJing. What planet was he born on? £2,000 a night? I've never heard anything like it. Do you think I get £2,000 a night DJing, dear? God's sake. It's much more than that. Much more. So I went and put my £2,000 in the bank. Okay. Then I went to the supermarket. I shouldn't really tell you this. There's a woman in the supermarket, right? She sits on a till. Apologies, ladies, if this is a problem as well, but I've never really seen it before. Only on some people's nans, okay? Now, the lady on the... I'm not sure what lady it is, or whether... how can I put this? I'm not sure whether she was always a lady. Do you know what I mean? Okay? Because she sits on the till. She's a big woman. And don't get me wrong, she's always very, very pleasant to me, dear. I've got a feeling she fancies me. I think she might fancy me. But whenever I talk to her, I'm fully aware that she's been shaving. And she's got a little bit of stubble like me. And she's not that old. She's 35, probably 35 to 40, somewhere around there. And she's always got a load of stubble. And, I shouldn't really say this, but I kind of looked down to her chest to see if they were there. If the things. And they are definitely there. And I'm not sure if she has always been a woman, or she was a man and has had a change, or maybe she's halfway there. I'm not quite sure about that. But always very pleasant. Anyway, so I went down to Sainsbury's, got a few... I didn't go to her till today, actually. I went to the till next to her, another lady, older lady. I like to go to elderly ladies on the tills. They've always got the time of day for you. There's no point, and I'm sorry, girls, if we've got any girls watching the programme or listening to the programme at the moment between the ages of 18 and 25, why is it that whenever I go to one of your tills and say something that isn't anything to do with a transaction, like I got wet today or something like that, and you look at me as if I'm dirt and I'm trying to chat you up. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Why do you do that? What is all that about? They go, you know, they throw the arms and they touch, and they like that. What's all that about, girls? Come on, drop the attitude, dear. Actually, talking of attitude, in Belushi's bar where I was on, we had a fantastic Saturday night this week in Belushi's bar. It was fantastic. Took a little bit of a while to get going, but I don't know what happened. I was into a bit of a rock set. I was playing some Bon Jovi and Queen, and I've got to get some people that they do like the rock music in there, so I was playing some of that, and the whole place was just erupting, and they were singing along to the Bon Jovi, the entire pub. Oh, it was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And some girl, she was dancing on top of how can I explain? Like, there's a bit in the middle where you can put drinks. It's almost like a bar in the middle, but it's not a bar, if you see what I mean. So plenty of room to stand. And one girl was up there, she was swinging her arms in the air. What a fantastic night that was Saturday, and I don't know why. It just happened. Anyway, also on a Saturday night, what they have is a tequila girl or a sambuca girl, right? And basically what these girls do, they wear like a little silver holster round their waist, okay? And it's like got sort of I was going to say brackets then, it's not brackets, like a what would you call it, a harness? Would you call it a harness? But anyway, it's just got these two bits of leather that go crisscross up to her shoulders, and in these leather she's got little pockets where small glasses go for shots. You see, tiny little glasses, and they go up the side there. And what she does all night long, I mean, it's the most awful job. There is no way that I would ever want to do a job like this. It must be one of the worst jobs in the world. Okay, what she does is she's. I don't think she's employed by the pub or the company. They come in, they then buy a bottle of sambuca or tequila from the pub. Okay, now the price they buy that for is very, very inflated. Okay, you can probably get a bottle of sambuca or tequila, I think, from the supermarket, probably for 12, 15, well, certainly less than £20, right? She, as part of the contract, she has to buy this bottle of drink from the pub for, are you ready for this? I think it's £130 for that bottle. Right? So she goes around the pub all night long with this bottle and the little shots, and she goes up to people and says, hello, do you want to buy a shot? £2 or £2. I think some of them charge, they seem to have different prices. Some of them charge £2.50 for what? This is for a little shot. I don't suppose it's, I haven't got anything in here. What have I got in here? It's, I can't, what have I got in here that looks like around about that size? Yeah, I suppose. I got a little. The end of this microphone is probably the size of one of those tequila shots, and one of those would be £2.50 or £3. Okay, so that's how she makes her money. She goes, she buys the bottle from the company, costs her about £130. It's not the exact figure, but I know it's around that figure. About £130 for this normal size bottle, or reasonably normal size bottle. It's not a great big one. And then the whole night she goes around and goes up to people, usually men, I have to say, okay? Usually men. She goes up to them and says, hello, would you like to buy some shots? And she's all smiley and happy. Or she might go up to people on the dance floor and dance with them and try and sell them a drink. Okay? That's her job. As I say, I don't think she's anything to do with the pub. These girls come in from outside, and that's how they make the money in the weekend. Now, I talked to some of them. Some of them are very pleasant. They really are. But it is, as I say, it's not a job. Even if I was a girl, I would not want to do that job. One of the most awful jobs in the world, to literally have to go up to people and beg them to buy a drink. Of course, if she has a good night, then at the end of the night, you can imagine that bottle, £2.50 for a little shot, she could make her quite a reasonable amount of money there. On the other hand, on a bad night, she could come out of there and not have made anything. Now, the guy I work from there, Rob, his name is Rob. I've worked for him in three other venues, many times, Rob and we have a very, very good working relationship. Not only that, I consider him a very close personal friend as well now. And he's very fair, and if at the end of the night the girls have had a bit of a bad night and perhaps haven't sold too much, he will say, OK, well, just give us half the money for the bottle and give us the rest of the bottle back and we'll sell that. And that's all very fair. He doesn't have to do that. So I think it's very good of him to do that. Now, usually these girls they're always very, very pretty. They're always like blonde hair, or no, they're not all blonde hair actually, but, you know, nice hair, youthful looking, lots of makeup, and really and little skirts or tight trousers, you know, the sort of thing, yeah. Really pretty young ladies. Now, I've worked with a few of these, and once I get to find out their name, and then I give them a bit on the microphone. Oh, it's Sue Ellen this evening. Sue Ellen is doing a sambuca. Put your hand up, Sue Ellen, so we can all do. And she puts her hand up and she smiles and all this, and it kind of helps them sell the drinks, okay? As well as being sort of ammunition for me to throw at someone into the pub, and that creates the atmosphere and people join in, and that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. You have to remember, to these girls who are doing that, this is a money-making exercise, okay? They are there to make a wage that night. That's what they do. It's a little bit different where it comes to me. Over the years, it's never, ever been about the money to me. Even though, as Ross P says, I do... Well, he got it wrong. He thought I was earning £2,000 a night. It is much, much more than that, Ross. It's much, much more than £2,000 a night, dear. God almighty, how much do you work for, love? I thought everyone worked for that. Actually, I've got another story there. Cool, we're never going to get on to all the rest of it today, are we? I'm going from thing to thing here. I've got another story there about I was very naughty once. There was a DJ working on the same circuit as me. He's younger than me by about I suppose by about 12 years, something like that. But in my DJing career, I've kind of hang around the middle, if you see what I mean. I never specialised in a particular type of music. Now, I know we do have some DJs watching and indeed listening to this programme, people that I know, maybe people that I don't know, maybe people that want to be DJs, okay? I decided long ago that I didn't really want to specialise in music. And I was pretty sure if I did that, then if naught is the bottom of the DJ ladder and 10 is the superstar DJ, what you want to try and do is keep around 5 to 6 all the time. And that will give you the longevity of a career. Never specialise, because the trouble is, if you specialise in music, okay, if you decide to, whatever is the big music at the time, I suppose at the moment that would be pop music at the moment. That seems to have made a big comeback. Britney Spears, Kylie Minogue, all that stuff. That seems to be the big thing at the moment. If you specialise in pop music, actually pop music isn't too bad, but a couple of years ago it was R&B, okay, and hip-hop. If you specialise in a type of music while it's at its height, you will get to number 10, okay? You will be at the top of the DJ's tree. But let me tell you, you never stay there more than a couple of years. And the trouble is, if you specialise and you get to the top of that tree, when that music goes out of fashion, you've got nowhere to go. It's it's all very well. You can't then go and say, well, I do commercial as well, because you are known for playing R&B and hip-hop, right? So clubs, managers, promoters, cannot put your name on the advert because people with, oh, that's R&B. No, we don't do that. Do you see what I mean? So many, many years ago when I started DJing, I decided, no, I want to be middle of the road, follow the charts. That's what I did. Now, this guy who came into heaven, what was his name? Paul. I think it was Paul. Paul. Was it Paul? Yeah, Paul. Paul, that was his name. Very good-looking lad. And he was in heaven once while I was DJing up there, and I was doing the pop music. I said, how are you, mate? We got onto the subject of money. I said, oh, yeah. And I thought, I'm going to wind him up here. And I can't remember what it was, but I said something like, oh, I'm on £350. And he says, what? I said, oh, what's wrong? He said, what did you just say? I said, I'm on £350. He said, you're not. I said, I thought we all were, weren't we? And I walked off. And he went round the club talking to all these other DJs, trying to find out if they were all on £350. It was very naughty of me. Very naughty of me. And then I picked up the phone to some of the other DJs that I know around my age. We were killing ourselves on the phone. Very naughty, naughty thing to do. But yes, Ross, you are wrong. £2,000 a night. I couldn't live on that, dear. It's much, much more than that. Much more. I can't say the exact amount, but it does run into 6 figures per night. Per night. Oh, I'm sorry, Ross. You walked into that one. Incidentally, listening to the Ross P podcasts, I have to say, you're very, very good at the talk shows. It's flowing, isn't it? It's flowing so well, and now you're having the same problem as I have always had, and that is you run out of time before you've said everything you want to say. And the beauty of it is, Ross, I'll tell you why you're good at it, right? The reason I know you're good at it is because you're able to do it, and you haven't even got barely any emails there. You are able to talk and not worry too much about emails. Don't get me wrong here. It's fantastic to have emails coming in. I've got a load here that will last me for a few shows at the moment, okay? It's fantastic, and we love getting emails. Ross will say to you he loves getting emails, but you cannot ever base, and I know so many DJs who base their request shows or something like that on emails, and you shouldn't do it, because when it all dries up, what do you talk about? But you are doing an hour chat show a week with very, very few emails, and you're running out of time. That's really good, Ross, and I'm very impressed. Very, very impressed with your show. All right, so carry on there. Just a few, and watch out for the word for passing wind as well, okay? Now, where were we? I forgot what I was talking about now. How did we get onto the subject of the DJs there? Talking about the bikes. Oh, I can't remember now. Shall we move on? Shall we move on? Otherwise, we're never carry on. What was I talking about before we got to the DJ thing? Oh, I can't remember. No, it's gone now. Completely gone. Completely gone. Doesn't matter. I'm sure I'll remember for the next show. All right? Suko. Suko, I was listening back to the last show I did, and I suddenly realised I'd asked you to take on another task, hadn't I, my darling? Eh? As well as being the high priestess of forgiving me for eating certain foods which are bad for you, perhaps, or will make you put on weight, I'd like you to take on something else now. I'd like you to also be the high priestess of my energy use. My energy use, okay? So if I commit a sin when I've eaten wrong foods, then of course I always, boys and girls, I always admit it here on United Kingdom Talk. Always. But now, Suko, I'm going to I want you to take on the other task of also being the high priestess of taking confessions for exorbitant energy use. And I have to do it now, Suko. Do you remember a few weeks ago, I said to you, I had no intention of turning on my heating this year until the 15th of December. Do you remember me saying that? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Poor old Justin at the steam coach where I work on Fridays. He says I will become ill. I will become very ill if I don't turn my heating on. I don't believe it. I do not believe it. Once you're in bed, you're warm. Put a jumper on. I happen to know Carl in Yorkshire is even tighter than me, and I don't think he turns his heating on until December as well. Is that right, Carl? Anyway, so bless me, Suko, for I have sinned because not last Wednesday, but the Wednesday before, it was very, very cold here in United Kingdom, and I had to turn my heating on for about 7 hours on Wednesday night when I was off. Bless me, Suko, for I have sinned. I know I sat here in front of my little audience, my gorgeous, loyal friends and listeners and viewers. I sat here in front of you and promised you I would not turn on that heating until the 15th of December. I hold my hands up and I ask for forgiveness for turning on that heating for those 7 hours on that cold Wednesday night. So please take note of that, Suko. I will do my best. I have to say, it's warmed up again. I've never known an autumn like it. It really isn't that cold. You see, as I've said before, the trouble is, once you've turned your heating on, it's difficult to turn it off because every time you leave the house, you're cold. This is Justin's problem. I'm sure he turns his heating on at the end of August. Okay? Every time he leaves the house, he's got 10 coats on, a scarf. Justin, I've got to tell you, Justin is one of the worst energy-wasting people I have ever known in my life. He doesn't believe in recycling, anything like that. All the lights are on everywhere. The heating's on full blast. And get this one. Get this one. I just banged the microphone. In the little back room where I play the music from on Friday nights, okay? Middle of winter, right? The heating's on in the pub. But in that little, and there's a little door that you can open, and then that's the outside, right behind me. He's also got 2 air conditioning units in this little room because he's convinced, unless they're on, all the amplifiers will overheat. Have you ever heard anything like it? So he's got the heating on in the pub, right? There's no door between the pub and that little room, and in this little room is 2 air conditioning units which are on even in the middle of winter. In the house, the heating's on full blast all the time, so every time he leaves the house, he's freezing cold. How terrible energy waster. And there's me apologising to you now for turning on the heating for 7 hours since September. Or no, actually, since March. And I still feel it's been on too much. So bless me, Suko, for I have sinned. All right, my dear? Suko, I better confess now, actually, the food that I have been eating while I was at my sister's, okay? So let's just go through that. I know I haven't got... Should I go through that now? Or shall I do it as it goes? No, I'll give it all to you now, Suko, because otherwise, if it's in bits and pieces, you might think I'm trying to pretend. I'm trying to split it up in the hope that you will forget what I've eaten. So I don't want to be accused of anything like that, dear. Thank you very much. I do not want to be accused of that. So I shall tell you now, Suko. On arrival at my sister's, I had 2 very cheap, nasty sausage rolls, but on the plate, 2 sausage rolls. In the microwave, 1 minute, took them out there. So I'm sitting in the living room, okay? They weren't nice. So I had, only out of those 2 sausage rolls, 1 sausage roll, and gave the rest to the dogs. And they were eternally grateful for that. So that was on the Saturday night, very early Sunday morning, right about Sunday morning, okay? Sunday morning I got up at 9:30. Now, why did I have to go? Because I didn't get to bed till 4:30, dear. Why did I have to get up at 9:30 on Sunday morning? Do you remember? I left you with that little cliffhanger. A cliffhanger on the last show, didn't I? There was a cliffhanger, dear. I shall... It's all coming, don't worry. Don't rush me, don't rush me. When I got up in the morning on Sunday morning, my sister says, hurry up, your breakfast. I'm doing your breakfast now. 9:30. Oh, what you do? Oh. And my little nephew was there. I love it when he comes and wakes me up. Because there's no knocking on the door with him. You know, 1 minute you're asleep like that, and suddenly, bang, the door opens. Chris, are you awake? I love it. Well, don't love it at the time, actually. No knocking, nothing like that. Although my other nephew, my older nephew, 24 he is, and his girlfriend, they live in the room opposite the one I'm staying in. Now, he now has to knock on their door. Apparently, he's been told about that. I should think so as well. So breakfast was 2 eggs on a piece of wholemeal toast with butter and tomato sauce. Okay? And then lunch on the Sunday was a roast beef dinner. Okay? Roast beef dinner. Was there any pudding? There was no pudding. 2 helpings of roast potatoes I had, though. But lots of vegetables and not too much meat. I'll come to that in the story in a minute. And dinner that night. What was dinner that night? Oh, I don't know. Evening meal. What did I have evening meal? I can't remember now. It wasn't big, as far as I can work out, no. It might have been half a packet of chocolate biscuits. Oh, I forgot that. Suko, on the Sunday morning when I got to my sister's, I also had half a packet of Cadbury's milk chocolate digestive biscuits. And I had the other half a packet of Cadbury's milk chocolate digestive biscuits. Oh, and 2 bags of cheese and onion crisps on Sunday night before we went to the cinema. Monday morning breakfast was... I don't think I had any. No, I didn't have any breakfast on Monday morning because my niece, my girlfriend, sorry, not my girlfriend, my nephew and his girlfriend took me out to Lincolnshire to do some shopping, to Lincoln to do some shopping, and I bought them dinner there, which was very nice actually. It was I had a steak and owl pie, and mashed potatoes and peas. Okay, so that was my dinner there. Now, what did we have when we got home? Shepherd's pie. Shepherd's pie, very nice, very nice. And then, oh no, that was the next day. The shepherd's pie. Hang on a minute. What was the day before? Oh, I know. Yeah, we had a firework display, so I had beans and cheese on jacket potato and 1 hot dog. Okay? The next day was the shepherd's pie, and the next day was beans on toast as well. I think that was all that way. Maybe a few more. Oh no! And then 8. This is throughout the course of the day. Okay, 8 chocolate marshmallows. Are you writing all this down, Suko? Because you've got to tell me what's bad and what's good. All right? And I think that was it. Was there one more? I think we had one more meal. I can't think what it was now. Oh, well, that'd be doing for getting on with. All right, Suko? Bless me, Suko, for I have sinned. I've had all those items. But there's been no McDonald's, no Kentucky. And I'm wondering, Suko, way back on the 1st of January, I made a New Year's resolution, I believe, not to visit McDonald's more than, was it 10 times? And I don't think I'm anywhere near that figure, am I? Can you please tell me, because I can't remember, I'm serious, I can't remember, Suko. Please can you tell me how many times I have visited a fast food outlet this year, please? We set a limit way back in January of 10 times. And I've got a feeling I'm not even halfway there. Which means I'm actually going to beat my thing by a lot, or I could go to McDonald's 6 times or more between now and the 31st of December. What do you reckon? Yes. Now, there's an email address to the show. It's chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. All right? chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. I still can't remember what I was talking about in the beginning of the show, actually, but never mind. Maybe we'll continue that on the next show. Right, back to my recent visits to my sisters. So I got up on Sunday morning at 9:30 after just 4:35, 6, 7, 8, after just 5 hours sleep. Yes, the door burst open. Chris, are you awake? Chris, are you awake? And then I'm sure he chucked. Oh, he didn't chuck. I'm sure he then put the puppy on the bed, because she's got a new puppy called Barnaby. And it actually sleeps with my little nephew. Oh, bless. Oh, isn't that nice, eh? So I got up in the morning, had me 2 eggs and tomato sauce on toast, and then we set off to go and watch Jimmy playing football. And he had already told me, I think it was on this occasion, that he intended to score 2 goals just for me. So there we are. Sunday morning, 9:30, Chris Reardon is up. He can't believe it. He cannot believe his ears and eyes. Got to the football pitch. Of course, it's starting to rain now, isn't it? Starting to rain. I said, where do we sit, Sharon? Sharon? Because my sister was coming as well, and her husband, Martin. And she said, what do you mean, sit? I said, well, last time, I said, you bought some chairs out. She bought some chairs with her and a blanket. And it was myself, my sister, and my sister's brother-in-law, David. And we sat in these, and we were like 3 old souls. We really were. We were sitting there next to the football pitch with a blanket over and one long blanket and 3 chairs. Well, this time, and she says to me, oh, we can't find the chairs. I said, what do you mean you can't find the chairs? She said, well, we have to stand here now. I said, I can't stand for a whole hour. It's chucking it. The rain is coming down. Poor little Jimmy. There he is in all his football kit. Of course, as soon as with his mates, he leaves the parents. He runs away from the parents and nowhere to be seen with me once the mates are there. What is all that about, children, eh? They don't want to be seen with anyone older when their mates are around, do they? Huh? So, and now I was watching him. They have like a little a practice or a little bit of a training thing just before the match. They were like kicking the ball to each other and things like that. So myself and my sister moved, and her husband moved in position to the side of the football pitch, and then my dear niece made an appearance, little Tracy, and her boyfriend Ben. Oh, they were all there, and once again Tracy had tight clothes on. She had a tight top and tight jeans, and I could see all the straight boys glaring at her again. I keep telling her, don't stop looking at my niece, please, like that. Protective uncle. It's not right, dear. I told her, put something over those immediately, dear. So the game started, and Jimmy's kicking about, and all these, you get all these parents, right, gathered round the side of the football pitch, and they're all shouting at the children. Oh, come on, get it, Kiddo. And I'm thinking, oh, what are you shouting at? Well, I don't see the excitement in it, you see. I don't know why that is. Is there something wrong with me, perhaps? I do not see. I went to watch my nephew. I didn't go to watch football, if you see what I mean. I'll follow him whatever he does. I will go and watch him, because that's nice, and I like to do that. But the game itself, no interest whatsoever. No interest whatsoever. And of course, whenever one side scores a goal, the other side start crying. And I'm thinking, it's only a blooming ball. It's only a ball. It's like all this. Have you seen all these pufters? Pufters in the England football team, dear. I've never seen anything like it. Crying when they lose a goal. It's only a game. Grown men all over the United Kingdom, dears. Every Saturday and Sunday they go and watch the football and they come back crying their eyes out. It's only a game. It's not important, dear. The Eurovision Song Contest, that's what's important. That's where you should be going out and crying when we lose. Yes. So after about 5 minutes, I thought my sister kindly had made some flasks of tea and all this, that and the other. So she had coffee. Excuse me. She had coffee and I had tea. Anyway, so she hands me this flask of tea, and Martin's got his flask of coffee, and Sharon's got a flask of coffee as well. So it's very clever, this flask. You don't actually take the top off. You push a button on the top, and then it comes out. I said, well, I couldn't work it, could I, of course? Couldn't work this flask. I said, how's it? Oh, give it here. She grabs it off. Give it here. Grabs it off. That's how she talks to me. Give it here. Grabs this flask off me, pushes the button in the top, and starts pouring it out into the cup tier. Very clever. Well, I took one sip of this tea. My God, it was the most vile tea I have ever tasted. I said, oh, there's something wrong with this, Sharon. She said, give it here. Give it here. Grabs it back again. Give it here. Like that. And she says, oh, it does taste funny. And then Martin, her husband, he's always very funny. It makes me laugh. This dry sense of humour. I love it. I love it. He looks at me, all serious face, and he says, you don't think she washes those out, do you? I said, what do you mean? He said, oh, she does soup and everything in that. She just never washes them out. I thought, no wonder it tastes awful, dear. The way he looked at me, he said, you don't think she washes that out, do you? I love it. But fortunately, I had already noticed that a little cafeteria, which appeared to be part of the changing rooms where they all change or leave. Well, I don't think they actually change there because all the kids are already in their football stuff when they get there. But there's like a little area with showers and that don't seem to be used. But there's a little tea bit in there, and I already spotted that was open. So I said to my sisters, oh, well, I'll go over there and I'll get a cup of tea over there because I want to use the toilet as well. She said, all right. I said, you got any money on you? Because I haven't bought any money with me. So she gave me £1 and I started walking over to the little tea place. So I got there and I thought, well, I'll use the toilet first. So I've said to the ladies, toilet in here, please. She said, yes, just go through there. So I went in there and I wanted to... how can I put this? I wanted to sit down in the toilet, okay? So I've gone in toilet, there's about 4 cubicles. Went into cubicle 1, always check for the toilet paper, no toilet paper. Went into cubicle 2, no toilet paper. I thought, oh no, don't say I'm going to have to ask for the toilet paper. Number 3, no toilet paper. Number 4, no toilet paper. I thought, oh, hang on a minute. Hand in pocket, no tissues. Hand in other pocket, no tissues. Hand in both trouser pockets, 1 small tissue. And I thought, well, that's not going to be any good, not with the size of my bum, So I then had to go and knock on the door of the canteen area. I says, oh, I'm so sorry to trouble you. Have you got any toilet paper? There's nothing worse. Is there, girls and boys, there is nothing worse than being somewhere and having to ask for toilet paper. I hate that. I hate that, don't you? I said, have you got any toilet paper? She says, oh, yes, just a minute. I said, do you want me to leave it in there when I've finished? Oh, yes, please, she said, dear. She wasn't bothered at all. I was so embarrassed, dear. I've never been so embarrassed in all my life, having to ask for toilet paper. Anyway, so I finished in there, and then I went out to the little cafeteria area and purchased a nice cup of tea. They did have Kit Kats and things in there, but... actually, for a change, I just had those eggs on toast. I didn't feel hungry. Can you believe that? Chris Reardon didn't feel hungry. Went back to the football pitch, and it really wasn't going too well for them. They were losing. Not only that, but at some other point in the game, they substituted Jimmy... what is that called? They substituted someone else for Jimmy, so he had to come off the pitch for a while, and I could see the disappointed look in his eyes that he'd been taken off. And Martin says to him, well, why have you come off? And he said, I don't know. And he says, you're all right. And Jimmy pretended not to be bothered, but yeah, I'm fine. But you could see it in his face. He was disappointed that he'd been taken off. But it's the game, I suppose. Later on in the game, he went back on the pitch and they finished. And after about an hour, it was all over. And there we were, wet, cold, but at least I had a cup of tea. So that was it, really. Nice little morning, actually. And we got back home around about 12:15 in the afternoon. My sister did a lovely roast dinner, a lovely roast dinner she did with vegetables and potatoes. The only thing is, I think I'm a little bit different to some people the way I eat. I don't eat an awful lot of meat, very, very small amount. I like, on my dinner plate, big piles of vegetables, carrots, cabbage, whatever, you know, big piles of that, lots of potatoes and very small amount of meat. So when my sister wasn't looking, I did swap a little bit of meat, I think, with my nephew Jimmy, in exchange for some of his carrots and potatoes, which was very nice. So that was that. Had a bit of a sleep in the afternoon. Then we watched the X Factor on the telly, and Pretty Boy Austin got voted. Why have all the pretty boys seem to have been voted off the X Factor this year? Isn't that strange? Don't know why that is. I think they've still got the boy band in there, JSL, who actually they're just a little bit too cocksure on there. You know what I mean? A little bit too sure of themselves, and I find that a little bit of a negative thing, to be honest. I like to see a little bit of humility in someone. I mean, I certainly, when I'm doing jobs and that, I'm never ever sure of myself. Always a little bit nervous, whatever I'm doing. I know it's true. I know you don't believe me, do you? And I always get a little bit nervous, even before I start doing this show. I always get a bit nervous. Oh my God, what am I going to talk about? Never know. It just sort of comes out. And I can't stop it once it starts. So watched a bit of the X Factor, and then went to bed, and then we got up, and I took Jimmy and my other nephew Gary and his girlfriend Stacey. We all went to watch the new James Bond film. What's it called? Solstice of Quantum of Sol... I don't know what it's called. The most ridiculous title I've ever heard in my life. Now, here's the funny thing. My niece Tracy had told me, when they have a big film on like that, you've got to get there early. Let me just clear my throat. That's better. You've got to get there early, otherwise you don't get in to see it. Now, the film was booked for 7:30, right? Now, my niece had told me, you want to get there about 6:30 and start queuing. I thought, oh my God, I really don't want to queue. It's only in a little cinema called the Kinema in the Woods, which I've mentioned a couple of times. I'm just looking around for a tissue and I can't find one anywhere. I've got such an itchy nose. I've got a duster over there. Do you mind if I use a duster? 1 minute. Oh dear. Can I just blow him in Oh, that's better. Oh, excuse me. Well, you've got to make do with what you've got, haven't you, eh? Could have been a T-shirt. Happens to be a duster, okay? So Manisa told us that we want to be there about 6:30. And I thought, oh, no way I want to blooming stand out there in that cold. Because it wasn't particular... Well, actually, it wasn't cold, but it was a bit damp. That was damp. So eventually, we actually got there at about 6:45. Film was due at 7:30. And there's this sign, queue here for James Bond, right? We were the first ones there. No, I lie. There was a car with a couple in there, a man and a woman in the car there, okay? We saw those. So we got to this sign, okay, right, wait at this sign. So there's me, my little nephew, and when we started getting up to bad things, like throwing things at each other, there was my other nephew and his girlfriend standing at the front of this queue. Film's due at 7:30. It's now around about 20 to 7, 7:15. When we got there, then these two people, this couple got out of the car and stood behind us. Right? It got to nearly 7 o'clock, and another couple, older couple, you know, sort of quite old, I would say about 50, 55, they came and joined the queue as well. Right? Film starting at 7:30. It's now about 5 past 7. No one else in the queue. And at this point, people started coming out of the cinema. Obviously, they had been there for the early show. Eventually, they started letting us in. There was only 5 of us in the queue. I'm so glad. Just to think, I could have got there at 6 o'clock and stood there on my own all that time. Complete waste of time queuing anyway. So we got into the cinema. I had a cup of tea. I don't think I bought any sweets because I was already still full up from my sister's lovely roast beef dinner that she did. So I think Jimmy bought a few sweets. I think Gary and Stacey had something. And the film started. Quantum of... is it Solace or Solist? I can't even remember what it's called now. I really can't remember. Film started, and in this particular cinema, at half-time, a man comes out and plays the organ. Oh, it's a really old-fashioned thing. It's actually worth going there just for it's a very old cinema. Smells a little bit mouldy in there, but that's not a problem really. And a man come up and started playing the organ. What was he playing? Oh, I know he was playing ABBA, Mamma Mia. Mamma Mia. No, he wasn't. He was playing Money, Money, Money. I work all night, I work all day to pay the bills I have to pay. Ain't it sad? And still there never seems to be a single penny. I'll sing it for you one week, okay? So that was over. Then we had the other half of the film, and then that was it. And then back, and we walks back, and I had to give Jimmy shoulders. Oh, he has put on some weight, though. Jimmy, he climbs up on my shoulders, and I kind of walk, and he holds onto my head. But he was a little bit too heavy for me. And I told him, I said, Jimmy, you've got too heavy. Get down. No, I want to lift, want to lift. And he's 11 years old now, for God's sake. It's a bit different when they're 5, isn't it? So took him back to the house, and... watched a bit of telly and went to bed. So that was my Sunday, really. And more on my recent visit to my sisters in the next show. I will say, on the subject of the James Bond film, all the write-ups in the newspapers, the critics, everything I've seen on the television, all that, have all been good. I didn't dislike the film. The film was okay, but it didn't amuse me. I always remember James Bond, and I think the same could be said for the last one as well. It didn't amuse me. You see, my favourite James Bond was Roger Moore, and it had an awful lot of humour in it. This film did not, for me, seem to have any humour. I'm trying to remember now, were there any humorous parts at all, and I don't think there were. Did anyone else think that? Have you seen it? Have you seen the James Bond? Did it make you laugh? I always remember James Bond as being quite humorous and funny in parts. This wasn't funny at all. It was much more of like an American car chase film. You know the sort. A lot of action, don't get me wrong, an awful lot of action. But no funny bits. I didn't laugh. And because of that, I will say that for me, that wasn't one of the best James Bond films at all. Of course, there seems to be the majority of people, an awful lot of people say, by far, this is the best James Bond film. I don't agree. It wasn't funny. I always expect James Bond to have a lot of humour in it, and it wasn't funny. Not only that, but they seem to be getting that opening song wrong. For years and years, the James Bond songs have been very, very memorable. This one, I don't even remember what it was called now, to be honest. You know, the Shirley Basses, the Matt Monroes, all really memorable songs. GoldenEye, Tina Turner, really memorable songs. This wasn't. I wonder who's choosing those now, because they're clearly getting that wrong. For me, the film, yeah, go and see it by all means. But it certainly wasn't the best James Bond film. I will watch the next one, of course I will, yeah. But I hope it makes me laugh, because this one didn't at all. No humour in it at all. Or maybe I just didn't see it. What did you think? Let me know on the email, OK? Chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Let's do some emails then. Hello to Irving Distiller. Hello, sir. Also known as Wayne Anonymous. It's got to be him. Who says, hello, Chris. How did you ever survive without sausage rolls, you poor dear? Well, as I say, my sister, in all her loveliness, did go to the Co-op and buy 4 for £1, but they were vile. They were vile. Actually, I don't want to upset her here. She did have a little go at making her own sausage rolls, and they weren't really... I didn't really like... I think what's happened is that I've got used to those other ones, and I don't really like... am I just being fussy? She did. She's so nice. She made some and thought I'd like them, and I didn't like them. Oof. You don't really want to say anything, do you? Because I appreciate it being done. But if you can't eat them, you can't eat them. That's it. So I did. So I had to survive without the sausage rolls. We had to really, we had to really survive. Try hard and survive without the sausage rolls. We had to muck it in. We really did. Irvin says, "Oh my, you didn't. No, not that. You went on the junk food binge." I wouldn't say that, actually. Yeah, okay, a couple of bags of crisps and a packet of chocolate biscuits. That's about the only junk food I had. Okay? No McDonald's, no Kentucky, nothing like that. Forgive him, Suko, for he knew what he was doing. Wayne, what do you mean? What do you mean? Thank you, sir. Ross P writes, "Hope you had fun at Sharon's. Now get back on that PC and make us some more Geekcast. My MP3 player is lonely without you." Well, we are back, Ross. And incidentally, talking to Ross P, he's moving, isn't he? I think it's tomorrow. He's moving this week, isn't he? Well, I tell you what, Ross, I think you're very lucky. That's got to be the quickest, one of the fastest buy a house and move in that I've ever known. Because something that can go on for months and months sometimes. It really can. So well done for you. And good luck with your move on Friday. And I really mean that. Good luck. The move is supposed to be one of the most stressful things of your life. Now, I came out of a one-bedroom flat into this three-bedroomed house. And, yeah, my flat... I didn't have mould and damp, like clearly you've got a problem in the flat you're in at the moment. Didn't have any of that. But still, it was lovely to get out of a one-bedroom flat into a house. And the house where I am now, it's not a huge, great house really or anything like that. But it's certainly big enough. You know, I don't think I could ever go into a little flat again. Good luck, Ross, all right? I did make some more notes about your show here somewhere. Where is it now? I can't. You were saying you were having trouble with your Freeview box, and you mentioned the model. Well, I happen to know. To be honest, Ross, I'm not surprised. I know that cost you about 10 quid, didn't it? That box. You get what you pay for, dear. You buy a non-branded box, and you complain that it's not working properly. You've got to spend the money, dear. Come on, Ross. When it comes to gadgets and technology, you want a brand name, dear. You got that. I know where you got that from because I gave a load away as bingo prizes once. And then, you get what you pay for. You only paid about £10 for that Freeview box, so I'm not surprised. OK, you've had terrible trouble doing it. Not only that, I meant to tell you, Ross P, he had an email from someone. Right, get this. And this email from someone supposedly called Rob, I reckon Ross actually made this up. He got this email from someone called Rob, someone supposedly called Rob, who said to him, "I prefer your podcasts to Chris Reardon." Ha 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 ha! What a cheek, dear. What a liberty. There you are. See, grabbing away at my loyal friends and listeners, stealing them just like James Dean did, dear. Stealing them? That's okay. That's okay. They all come back eventually, dear. They all go off with you younger ones doing your podcasts, but they come back to me because they want that comfort. That comfort arm. Incidentally, this is now a comfort arm. I was saying to my little nephew Jimmy, because when we muck about, we do have little play fights and that sort of thing. And I've told him, you know when a little girl or boy, and they get upset about something, and there's always a couple of occasions he gets upset about something up there, and I've now said, this arm, doesn't matter which one, this is now my comfort arm. He said, "What do you mean by that?" I said, "Well, in future, when you're upset, all you got to do is come up and say, 'Chris, I need the comfort arm.'" My arm comes around him like that and gives him a little hug. Isn't that nice? Eh? Do you like that? Do you like that, Ross? Well, you see, it's the same with this programme. They go over to you and they go over to James Dean, the young one with all the mouth and all this, that and the other. And then eventually they thought, "Oh, no. And they come back to me because they like the older comfort arm. Isn't that right, boys and girls? Huh? Thank you very much. All right, so Rob clearly says, wrote to him and says, I prefer your podcasts to Chris Reardon. Well, fine. Don't listen to mine then. Turn it off, dear. Turn it off. There's no commercials here. I haven't got an answer to anyone. If you don't like it, turn it off. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Ross. Thank you, Ross, rather. Now, how are we doing on time? We're nearly out of time today, actually. Coming up in the next show, we've got further updates from Susan, who has now been to the Dallas reunion party, and I've got a full report here, so that will be coming up on the next show, as well as some more emails from people. We'll finish off with this email. A little bit of advice here from Deck, our mate Deck, who runs a little bit of a radio station himself. How are you, Derek? All right? The best way, because we were talking about DJing the other week, the best way is to start off at the bottom, build up your skills. I tell you, I've been to some crappy pubs in my days, had bottles being thrown at me, but still came back to the pub and did more DJing, was picked up by a DJ who had a nightclub, then moved on to radio and loads of other things. So there you are. All right, that's his advice to any wannabe DJs. Take the jobs wherever they are. They may not be the best jobs, but you often find that better jobs come from those. Okay, thank you very much for that, Deck. Great to hear, and good luck with the new radio station. He's also going to have to eat more baked beans on toast as his skin at the moment. Nothing wrong with beans on toast, my friend. That's it for the show today. Thank you, as always, very much for joining me. I'll see you on the next show. Don't forget the email address if you want to join in. It's chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. See you on the next show. Thanks for watching and listening. Bye-bye now.